So Dr. Umar Johnson was on the It's Up There podcast with Loon, and they discussed quite a few things. We're going to get to a few videos, but this one we're talking about Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless and the separation that happened between them when they got into it, and how Dr. Umar viewed that whole thing.
So Shannon and Skip had a run-in.
Yeah, there was some argument live
Backstage.
about...
The live show. I remember that.
Yeah. And so I think that bled over to behind the scenes and led into eventually those two guys not being able to coexist. Shannon Sharpe is now on ESPN. Stephen A. Smith broke the news that he was asked to leave. What do you think about people like Shannon Sharpe sitting next to someone like Skip Bayless and providing that type of style and swag to those?
I think the Shannon Sharpe, Skip Bayless situation is so symbolic for black people in America on many levels, because Shannon was a better commentator than Skip. He made the show, but because Skip was the privileged white man, Shannon made the mistake of outshining the master. And within the white power structure, you're not allowed to do that. And so Skip was willing to cut off his fingers to teach Shannon a lesson that you never go against the white hand that feeds you. And so it was unfortunate, but I'm glad Shannon is gone, because to me, I believe he was selling himself short, constantly trying to play humble black man to this arrogant white man.
You think he played humble up there? I've seen him do
many a times. And you saw it on y'all saw him when he kept trying to ingratiate himself to Skip. He tried to win Skip.
Give me some example.
Over.
Give me an example.
Just in the nonverbals, in the language, in the deference. He always tried to make sure he didn't go too far in challenging Skip. He always started the shows with the hand, the pen.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted it. He didn't want to leave.
And we also remember the beef that Shannon got into on the court with John Moran and T. Moran and all of them. And he came in the next day and apologized to everybody, including the people up in the concession selling peanuts. You know what I'm saying? So you can get what he's saying here.
I think Shannon tried to win Skip back over. But Skip, being the slave master he is, he needed to teach Shannon a lesson. And although his ratings are going to drop, in Skip's mind, it was well worth it, because in the mind of a white man, what good am I if I can't even check a black man?
Yeah, because when I found out that they forced him out, I was like, y'all are even more stupid than I thought, because the show definitely took a hit. Like, I barely watch it anymore. And First Take made great gains because of Shannon Sharpe. I knew they was making a big mistake by letting him walk out the door, but I found that they did it on purpose. Like, wow, you're sacrificing a lot, Skip. The dynamic of the show now is just off.
So that was all about race, and it was about power. And I think Shannon may have not fully understood the rules of racism. And the first rule of racism is all white people are racist.
You know, Dr. Umar about to jump out the window again. Like, come on, man. All white people are racist? Like, you couldn't at least just say the majority or a good amount or something. You know, all right, come on, let's get back to it, man.
And the second rule of racism, white people don't share power with black people. So the minute Shannon wanted an equitable power sharing in the conversation on Undisputed, he had to go. Skip had to let him know, we are not partners. I'm the slave, you're the slave, and I'm the slave master. Shannon tried to break the code, change the power dynamic. White people don't do well with you changing power dynamics, because at the end of the day, all they have is their white privilege over and above you. But with that being said, and I love my brother Shannon Sharpe, I think he got a good heart, but until he stopped running around with them damn snow bunny, I'll never be able to give him the total respect that he deserves. I think he's a good brother, but he got to heal whatever went on with him and his children's mother, ex-wife, whatever. But for him to be as dark as he is and to only be running around with white women, it's a disgrace to the race.
So love isn't love to Dr. Umar Johnson.
If love is love, why don't we see rich white women marrying broke-ass black men? If love is love.
Listen, for people that want to date outside the race, just because that's what you prefer, do what you do. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Love who you love. But we do got to give them a point and say that it's not often that we see a rich white woman marry a broke black man. But then again, most rich people, men or women, are going to date somebody with lesser money than them, you know. But for brothers like me, I found, due to listening to Dr. Umar, that it is very important to love on a woman that looks like me and marry a woman that looks like me, especially for the kids, the optics of the whole thing in the family. And if you are like T.O. and you have been kind of jaded by rejection of black women, look a little deeper. You can, I promise you, you can find women that won't do you that way. You know what I'm saying? And just give black women a deeper chance than what we have been giving them. Even though T.O. never said that he stopped dating black women to prefer and only date white women. He said, I just became a little more comfortable with white women. But he still dated both. Dr. Umar would be going too hard on this because he was just in the Dominican Republic and trying to find a reason to make one of them his wife. You know what I'm saying? And then as far as him talking about he needs to heal what's going on with his baby mama, Dr. Umar, I believe you got 2 baby mamas that you ain't healed what you've been doing with them. So come on, man, with this whole thing on the baby mama thing and all of that, man. Like you be going too hard sometimes, bro. But back to the power dynamics of him talking about Skip and Shannon, like I believe it's true. I believe Skip was adamant on reminding Shannon that this is his show. And it was a growing envy towards Shannon because over time, Skip watched how the people ingratiated themselves towards Shannon. They started to call him Unc. And you know what I'm saying? I just would notice little jealous moments where it was like LeBron would have Shannon's courtside and they would, hug and dap each other up and all of that. And Skip like, well, how'd you get those tickets? I've been talking about Tom Brady for years. He's never brought me out to do this or do that. You know what I'm saying? It's just Skip was jealous that he didn't get the same treatment from the players that he propped up this way as Shannon did. You could just see it seething off of Skip at certain points. And you obviously knew that Skip did not have enough swag to carry the show. He does not. Skip does a great job as far as his work ethic, what he puts into the show, his stats, his studying, getting prepared for the show. Great job. But as far as him being entertaining on camera, he is as dry as a bread sandwich. 3 pieces of crusty, dry bread put together for you to bite on. You don't want it. Have you ever watched his podcast with just him? It's nails on the chalkboard. I hate thinking of that sound. It made me feel like that just thinking about him talking. He doesn't do well as far as swagger holding the show or conversation really that good. Now, when you have him with Shannon, they made a great team. But Skip was very funny style about Shannon being like the greater part of that team. That's wasn't how that was supposed to go. But it is what it is. Skip, sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like, I can be a funny guy in spurts here and there, mostly when I'm by myself. But you put me out in a party somewhere, I'm not a funny guy. I'm not going to be the life of the party. I have cousins and friends that are that. I don't get jealous that I can't outshine these dudes when they doing what they do out in the mix of the crowd. People gravitate to them. People love them. People just are happy to see them. People just be looking at them. What are you going to say next? That boy's stupid, boy. It's a natural thing. You either got it or you don't. But I don't spend my time looking at my cousins like, I wish I was funnier than him. Like, sometimes you gotta let it go and just realize your part that you play, Skip. And even though it is your show, you can't be that guy. You don't have it in you. You wasn't raised like Shannon was raised. All the things that God put Shannon through to get him to where he is the way that he is. And that's nothing. There's no knock on you, Skip. You might be a bread sandwich, but you a good bread sandwich when you put it with something else that needs some bread. You dig what I'm saying? When you put it with something else that needs some bread, it matches then. But Skip doesn't realize that, and that's why why he put so much energy and effort into playing out this white power structure of being as Dr. Umar calls it, the slave and the slave master. He had to remind Shannon of his place because he didn't like how the people took to Shannon. And when certain cases came up, like the Tom Brady case, he felt it would be a great time to disrespect him as much as he could with his words. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, we all glad that Shannon didn't do what he wanted to do and hop across that table, because it equaled greener pastures for him to be able to maneuver business-wise. So everything works how it's supposed to work. And I'm sure Skip is kicking himself that he did that, but he'll never admit it, because he still has that arrogance in him. He's one of those type of white men. All white men ain't like this, but a good amount get like this. You know what I'm saying? I have the power, and you don't. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you can just see it on them sometimes. So, you know, when you see it, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But then again, we got to admit, like I've said this before, like no one just relinquishes power just cause. Like nobody. Like I've said this to people, like if black folk were running the world and we have been in power all this time, would we just give it up and hand it over? Oh, we run the world, but you know what? Here you go. So, you know, you got to take that into consideration too. I personally wish that Shannon would have left on his own accord, because I saw it happening in real life, and I'm like, I hope Shannon get away from this. But unfortunately, he was trying to claw and stay, in which I've done this too. I've overstayed my welcome in situations like that too, so I can't blame him. You know what I'm saying? But when the separation happens, sometimes it can be the best thing in your life that could have happened to you. You know what I'm saying? Just play the cards that God gave you and do what you do. Know who you are. And that's why Shannon is blessed to this day. This your boy P Camp. Let me know what you think, what you don't think. Get at your boy.